Hello students. So today this is the second day for RC section of CSAT paper 2024 and my name is Shakeel Ahmed. In today's class we will discuss reading comprehension section, those type of questions which are asked in like 8 or 9 or 10 numbers of questions of in the RC section are from main idea based or crux based. Yesterday we discussed about logical questions, right? So in the year 2023, UPSC asked almost half of the paper had the questions of the same nature, main idea or crux based. So we will discuss the basic detailing of main idea or crux based type of questions, what kind of information it needs as an answer. After that, we will go for some example questions for practice and then some CSAT questions. That is one of the agenda. Second thing is that today we will discuss the approach for RC section for 2024. What should be the strategy in terms of time, in terms of speed, in terms of priority in the paper, that which section should be taken care of. So now I'm going to start with this question. First thing is you must know what main idea based or what crux based question means and what kind of information it needs as an answer. So you know that as the word suggests, main idea, it means what is the author's main idea, what he wants to prove, what does he want to convey through his paragraph. So author's point or author's peace of mind, that should not be missed out. And I have been telling you that whenever you read the passage, always start with this objective, that you need to find out what does the author want to convey, what does the author want to convey, or what does the author want to establish, right? They want to establish means they want to prove something. So establish or to prove. So in order to prove or establish his point, author writes other points. Other points, I mean that he writes explanation for that, he writes evidences for that, he writes premises or supporting material for that. So a student or reader should always be able to distinguish between what the main point is and what are the points written there, sentences written there, which are working as a support system for that, right? So author's main point. Now from here you can evaluate what kind of information will work as an answer and how the examiner will write the wrong options, I mean the traits of the wrong options. You can also anticipate them. This anticipation is very helpful because it saves you from falling into the trap set there. So the traits or the characteristics of wrong options are equally important. So let me just take you to what kind of trap is set. So trap number one, to understand this point, I give you an analogy between this orange and juice, right? This is an orange. This will be helpful to connect with the point that I want to convey through trap. And the main component of an orange is juice. Of course, that is the main component. That's why you purchase it. So when you want juice from your orange, you should take it like a passage is like an orange, and when a main idea based question is asked, in the answer you need that crux of the passage. The crux is like the juice of the orange. So this analogy will help you to understand the trap set there. From here, trap number one or point number one to be noticed is that you know that in orange, along with the juice, there are other substances that are also present, such as peel is there that you throw, iska chilka, you have the seed, you have the pulp, right? But they are not the main component, though they are part of the orange. Similarly, in the passage, the author, along with the main point, he has also written the other points. So those other points may be working as an explanation, as an explanatory part, maybe working as an example part. They are not they should not be there in the option, in the correct option. So a student should, while evaluating the option, should be careful that whether he is getting the juice from the passage or he is going for pulp or seed, that's secondary part material from the passage. So the first thing is that your correct option should not contain, it should not contain the secondary point. The less important point. The main point should always be present there, right? So any option should not be chosen on this basis that it is also given in the passage. There may be secondary or tertiary type of material also given in the passage. Uh, so this is understood, this trap, and while evaluating the option you can safeguard yourself. Second point is that when you want juice, you want that strictly it should come from the source, right? If you purchase juice from outside, you are watchful that the juice wala should not add any foreign material into it, such as sugary syrup or water or something. So you are watchful, you are on your toes, right? You want it to come from the orange itself. Similarly, when you evaluate the options, you should be watchful that any information which is not given in the passage directly or indirectly, here a very important word is directly or indirectly, because some information may be indirectly connected to the given information. So if there is no connection between any direct or indirect connection, of the information given in the option, and you are choosing that, then you are committing a basic error. So always be watchful that the relevant information should be present in the passage. It should not come from outside. So no information based on external source. By external source, I mean that uh, not given in the para, directly or indirectly form. There is no logical connection even. So if there is no connection, you cannot choose that option. So these 2 points, if you keep on your mind, and this will simplify to evaluate the options and safeguard yourself from falling into the trap. Right. So the main idea means what does the author want to convey, and always stick to that. Now, most of the time, when you find that the nature of the passages, if the nature of the passage, suppose author is describing a certain problem, and he has also given some recommendations. When you go to a doctor, the doctor writes on the prescription RX, which means his recommendations are those medicines. So this piece of paper, the prescription, becomes important because it contains the recommendations or solutions. So similarly, author's solution is a very important point. And most of the time, it happens that in the CSAT passages, the author, along with the problem or issue, he also demands a solution or he writes a solution. When he demands a solution, same thing, you will have to consider the way he has described the problem. In 2023, in 2022, both years we have seen the question where a problem has been raised and the author demands a solution, and he says that which could be the best, the most logical or the most rational, the immediate action that needs to be taken. So there you need to consider the problem that is described there, fine. So this thing, if you have on your mind, it will help you to find the correct option. The problem is given, but the recommendation is also given. Remember that recommendation is very important point. So it should be always present in the option. If the para has these two components, you cannot choose an option which does not contain the recommendation or solution given by the author in the passage. Sometimes even if the author has not written his recommendation or solution, but he has described the issue or the problem, he has described a certain issue, and this issue has been raised as if it's a serious problem, as if it needs to be addressed, though he has not, even though he has not written his recommendation or solution, still you are supposed to choose an option which contains the solution part, because the issue has been raised as a problem, right? Not in a neutral manner. In a neutral manner, I mean that when the author does not mention whether it's a problem or an issue or not, he just describes. Suppose a passage describes only the population, it talks about population of a country, right? And does not pose population as a problem. Whereas in another passage, you find that an author writes about population, but in the passage he projects population as an issue, as a problem. I can write negative here. In that way, it means we can choose an option which talks about taking steps to contain this problem of population or overpopulation. But in case he has written it in a neutral form, not projecting it as a problem, there you need not to choose an option which is going to sort out the problem. So always notice this thing, because as I said earlier, in main idea based question, I have seen that almost 30-40% of the passages have the same nature, that an author has raised an issue or a problem, and he raises it as an issue, as a serious problem, and then you find that solution oriented option will be the better option. Or in case he has directly written his solution or recommendations, of course that recommendation and solution oriented option should be chosen, or that option which contains this part should be chosen. So that is one important thing about main idea. So students, now I have discussed with you main idea or crux based questions. What do they demand? They demand the author's point, what author wants to finally convey, to establish or to prove. That point should be present in there in the passage. So the trap, orange and juice analogy will help you to connect with the trap set there. Two major takeaways I have written here. And now problem and recommendation kind of passages, mostly such passages are given in the CSAT paper. So there you can again apply the same thing. Now in what ways main idea based questions are asked? Because one should know the different terminology or words. In my previous video, I have given you the list of such words. Here I am going to write them quickly, and so that we can start with the with practice part. So the main idea or crux may be written as that which option best sums up the passage. Sums up the passage in simple form, you can say that summarizes the passage, summary of the passage, or encapsulate the passage. In short form, it represents the whole passage. If the examiner use that which option contains the gist of the passage or essence of the passage, all the same. Or they say that which of the option is the keynote of the passage, or they say that which option contains the important message of the author or the passage, or what seems to be the purpose of the author, his basic purpose. So all the same main idea they demand. Or if they say that which of the following option contains the theme of the passage, right? The theme of the passage, it means again the main point should be present there. All right, so you will evaluating the option, be careful, and the chosen option must qualify as an answer to the given question. Let's take a couple of CSAT passages. So I'll take you to passage number 3 first. Very small passage. It's a PYQ. Yes. So here, what does the above passage imply? Imply means what the author tends to convey, right? So what the author tends to convey. Same thing. So author says here, in a democratic state where a high degree of political maturity of people obtains. So first thing to be noticed that he talks about a democratic state, but a particular type of democratic state where political maturity of the people obtains. Those. The conflict between the will of the sovereign lawmaking body and the organized will of the people seldom occurs. So this point needs to be understood. Conflict between the will of the sovereign lawmaking body, in short form you can say the government, the dominion, and the organized will of the people. I mean, it talks about the public, organized will of the public. Between them, the conflict seldom occurs. A seldom word is a frequency word, but it is a connotative term. It means that it has a certain sense, a certain meaning. So if you focus on that meaning, you get the meaning of the. If you focus on the meaning, a particular meaning of that word, you get the right sense. Seldom is used to convey that if something is very rare. So here the user's attitude is that if something is so rare or so small, the frequency is that it is almost negligible. So the conflict between the two, the government and the people, the public in general, is seldom, yani very rarely it occurs, right? So when the conflict is rare, of course the use of force, when the force is used, when there is a conflict between the government, between the power and the people. So let's evaluate the options. The main point you have understood. First option says in a democracy, force is the main phenomenon in the actual exercise of sovereignty. A force is the main phenomenon. When the conflict is very rare, how can force be the main phenomenon? Because force is used when there is a conflict. So of course this option is wrong. Plus this option is just talking about in a democracy. But passage is talking about a particular type of where political maturity of people have obtained. So A is out. B, in a mature democracy. Now it talks about mature democracy. Force to a great extent is the main phenomenon, but more or less it is saying the same thing as A is saying. Force is the main phenomenon. If force is the main phenomenon, again it is going against the author, against the passage. Now two weak options. Your job is to always eliminate at the very outset, at the very beginning. Second, C and D, two close options are there. So C says in a mature democracy, use of force is irrelevant in the actual exercise of sovereignty. Use of force is irrelevant. This word is very important here. And option D says in a mature democracy, force is narrowed down to a marginal phenomenon in the actual exercise of sovereignty. Force is narrowed down, yes, narrowed down to a marginal phenomenon that represents seldom in the right perspective, right? So it is brought down, whereas the word irrelevant does not capture the sense of rarity described here. Seldom word and this, because if you say the force is irrelevant, use of force is irrelevant, it has a slight difference in meaning. So difference in meaning. For example, if something is irrelevant, it's like it does not talk about its frequency, right? And the author is talking about its frequency, that it is very rare. Irrelevance and relevance talks about its propriety. So option D rightly captures the author's point. So you see here that the game of evaluation of option is the key, and while reading the passage must notice what does the author want to convey. This is the author and you should never miss out the point that he wants to establish. So the point he wanted to establish here was seldom occurs, the conflict between the two. And the wrong options will certainly have one, very noticeable words, so you can eliminate them quickly, noticeably wrong words, I mean, and second, that there may be another option which is close to the best, close to the correct answer. However, there is always a word that you need to notice. So when many students face this problem, they say that I am able to eliminate the wrong options, two wrong options. However, I am generally stuck up between between two good options. So don't know what to do. In that case, my advice is that it happens. due to two reasons. Number one reason is that there is a word and you are unable to notice that. For example, irrelevant was the word here that needs to be understood in the right perspective, which is going to make it wrong. So when you come across two close options, what you need to do, your method should be to read it slowly, to read the given option slowly. So this doubt, whenever you are doubtful, and doubtful, like two close options are there, why it happens and what should be done. Two remedies I'm going to share with you. Number one, uh, you know read slowly to find out the word or expression or the phrase which makes the difference. Sometimes it happens that when you read it in a customary way at a good speed, uh, you may miss that word. And when you are going to look on each word means that important word there, and your eye span should be small. Read word to word and then notice the word which is going to make it wrong or going to create the difference. In a row, when you read it, in a hurry when you read it, sometimes you miss it out. So that is one reason that word should be noticed, like irrelevant was the word there. Second, why this you generally the students are doubtful between two close options. Second reason is that at times students are they are not very clear about what kind of information is required by a particular question. So when they do not know the nuances of the difference, they sometimes mix up the things. For example, a question of main idea is asked, and along with the main idea option, examiner has also written an answer which is inferential in nature, like an option which is inferential, just a valid inference it is, but it does not represent the main idea, or it does not represent the crux of the passage. So be watchful that whether you know about the question, is it clear to you that whether the chosen option is going to be the answer to this question or not. So he may write in the wrong options the answer to some other type of question, such as inference, such as corollary. However, the main idea demands that author's main point should be present. So clarity, or rather lack of clarity of question. Lack of clarity of the question, it means the kind of information it requires as an answer. So this will be helpful. Now we go to the PYQ. Look at this passage 4. I give you time 1 minute to read it. All right, so this question asks about most crucial message. So author wants to convey some message. What is the which option captures it? During the summer in Arctic Ocean, sea ice has been melting earlier and faster, and the winter freeze has been coming later. In the last 3 decades, the extent to summer ice has declined by about 30%. The lengthening period of summer melt threatens to undermine. Now he talks about the effect of this, right? So the passage is a very regular one. Almost every second passage in the CSAT paper talks about the same thing: climate change and its ramifications. So this passage is the same. A CSAT, CSE student will read it very fast and will be able to remember everything. Threatens to undermine the whole Arctic Feb, atop which stand polar bears. So polar bear is at the top of the food chain in this particular region where the climate change is causing melting of glacier and lengthening period of summer. Now option A, uh, juice, orange and juice, the juice should be there in the passage. The examiner will write something from outside also. The examiner may go for some kind of distortion of the given data. So option A you look at. Climate change has caused Arctic summer to be short. You notice that climate change has not caused it to be short, rather the lengthening period of summer is given there. So it's a distortion. So all the future officer, you should be ready to notice the distortions. Distortion means कि तथ्यों, जो तथ्य, the facts, the data that is given, that generally the examiner writes it in the wrong form, right? So he distorts them. He creates the discrepancy for you to notice. So it's a very simple type of challenge. For a future officer, there is always a challenge to notice the difference, to notice the discrepancy, right? So this word discrepancy you remember, and you are going to come across different type of discrepancies in the CSAT RC section. So first is wrong. B, polar bears can be shifted to South Pole to ensure their survival. It should be the author's message. Now it is coming from outside. This is not the juice coming from the orange, but from outside. So author has not said it. So B is out, right? So you can say here that it's not a distortion of the given data, but rather it is not given in the passage. How can it be the message of the author? It's not given. C, without the presence of polar bears, the food chains in Arctic region will disappear. Now it talks about the effect. It talks about the effects. It's relevant to the passage. However, you need to be careful. It means C and D, like generally 2 and 2 is the ratio between good options, close options and weak options. So C is 1. Without the presence of polar bears, the food chains in Arctic region will disappear. And D, climate change poses a threat to the survival of polar bears. So students, you should know that expression should match the author's point, should be within the limit of the passage, should not go beyond it. Without the presence of polar bears, the food chains in the Arctic region will disappear. Now where it comes from, the author has not told you the effect to this extent. He has only mentioned in the last line that threatens to undermine the whole Arctic food web, atop which stand polar bears. But the food chain will disappear. So that we cannot say that food chains will disappear. The author has not said, in fact. D is, and you are not allowed to in fact use your own brain and say, okay, when the polar bear is not there, the food chain will also disappear. The question is that the question does not ask about your point of view. It just asks what does the author want to convey. So in the message question, always be careful that what the author wants to convey, you need to stick to that. Don't go beyond it. Option D, climate change poses a threat to the survival of polar bears. Yes, this is what the author's message is. Because polar bear is at the top of the food chain and the whole food chain is being threatened. So we know D option. So remember, the takeaway from this passage is that the passage was simple. You notice the distortion. You notice that something that the author did not say, and then you came to C option where author has said something, however not to this extent. So there was some exaggeration there, the whole food chain will disappear. We do not know that thing, and students commit this error, the kind of error, because they are, since they know the context, since they know about the topic, so they apply their own mind to arrive at some options or some conclusions. However, they're not allowed because the question demands that what is the author's message. And especially in this question, whenever you come across message question, remember for your paper 2023 24, the message questions means that you need to uh, stick to the author's point, what he wants to convey. The examiner in the wrong options will try to put words in the author's mouth. To put words in someone's mouth, you know very well, right? So need to be careful of that. uh, very good morning. Okay. Now, so we have come to the point that message question, generally the outside information, something that author has not said, will be written there. And I'm going to take you to a particular passage now. Main idea question will be there. Now this word, it's like message, you should be careful of this word implies. So when the word implies or is written there, or what is the implied idea of the passage, or what does the passage imply, this imply word means the author has not said it openly. However, what he tends to say must be given in the passage. So in the an explicit expression is not there. However, the what he tends to convey, you need to grasp that and find that from the given option. तो चलिए ये भी एक PYQ है. And the conceptual difficulties in national income comparisons. I give you a minute to read this. So you must have read the passage now. The author highlights his specific point, and he says about the conceptual difficulties in national income comparisons between underdeveloped and industrialized countries are particularly serious. Why it is serious? Because a part of the national output in various underdeveloped countries is produced without passing through the commercial channels. Right. So the why comparison is serious. This comparison is serious because a part of national output in various underdeveloped countries. But author has used the word various. He has not said in all developed countries. Sorry, in all underdeveloped countries. So so this is happening, and which makes the comparison difficult. Your job is to look at those options which are embedded with the wrong words, loud and flashy and extreme type of words. They control the meaning, and you can evaluate with them, with the given information. So here, option A, the entire national output produced and consumed in industrialized countries passes through commercial channels. Question is that what does the author imply to say? What does the author tend to say? Does he only want to talk about the what is in the industrialized countries, and that too entire national output, which is entire means like 100%? So you notice ki no. Option A will not should not be chosen because it misses out that the comparison becomes difficult. And option A does not talk about the comparison at all. Option is rather making a logical deduction from the passage. That is the reason. And guys, you need to be very careful at this juncture that whenever you come across an option which makes sense, don't stop there. Always cross check whether it is the answer to the given question or not. आपको जो पूछा जा रहा है वो है या ये कोई और बात है जो आपको अपील कर रही है. And of course it will appeal you if it has some connection with the passage. It is also maybe logically acceptable, however not the answer to the given question. So option A is not the answer to the given question. How? Because the comparison between the two, how that comparison becomes difficult, does not get a mention here. Rather it only talks about a point related to industrialized countries. So option A is not the correct representation of author's idea. I'll take you to another option which is very loud. You see, look at that. No part of national output, no part, very loud. No part of national output should be produced and consumed without passing through commercial channels, as if it is giving a kind of preaching preaching, or the author has given some kind of sermon, some kind of a strong recommendation that it should not happen. He is merely saying here that the comparison becomes difficult. So again, option C is actually off the track and does not represent the author's point. Option D says a part of the national output being produced and consumed without passing through commercial channels is a sign of underdevelopment. He has gone for a reverse trick. Reverse is whatever has been said about one thing in a particular way, and the author has gone for reverse. It is a sign of an underdeveloped countries. But we see here that all underdeveloped countries, author has not said in all underdeveloped countries the same thing happens. In various, he says, of the various is not equal to all 100%. So you do not have that it is. So this change in the quantifier should be noticed. Quantifier various is said here, and it's a sign of underdevelopment, becomes very generalized one. So this option is again wavered and does not represent the idea. Option B is absolutely correct, because it says the existence of a non-commercialized sector in different underdeveloped countries. You saw various, you see here various was given, different is given, right? So quantifier is correct. Renders the national income comparisons over countries difficult. Yes, the comparison becomes difficult. Whether it should be there, should not happen, it's a sign of underdevelopment. All these are the options which are going in different directions. So what author implied to say, or what the author has explicitly said, we are supposed to stick to author's point always. The main idea based questions, the challenge is that you should know the question, and you should have anticipated that what kind of information should be there in the option, and it should not go, it should not deter from the line, no deviation from that point. Such options are very challenging, which appeal to your mind, because they have got some logical connections. But you should remember that you are not drawing some kind of inference here. You are not going for inference finding answer. It is not corollary based answer. It is not. It is just the main idea itself. Okay, so let me now take you to a couple of non-CSAT passages. Look at this passage. Again, the question is implied idea. I give you a minute to read. Implied idea. Author tends to say, to aspirants, you must remember my word. I told you that if a problem is given or issue is given in the passage, an author also recommends something. So his recommendation becomes very important, and that should be part of the correct answer when implied idea or any main idea question is asked. So all the same here. Yes, in the previous passage you gave the answer as option B. What do you say in this passage? Now, so author has given here what, you know, four options are just same A, B, C, D here. Hmm? So there are crimes of which the motive is want. Motive is want. And then for these failures expects to find a cure in the equalization of property, which will take away from a man the temptation to be a highwayman because he is hungry or cold. So if want is the reason, the person is devoid of any resources, so he goes to crime, he resorts to crime. So that is one thing given here. Then he said, but want is not the sole cause. It means there are other causes as well. Sole incentive to crime. Men have desire to gratify, so desire is also a reason. To gratify some passion which preys upon them, or they are eager to enjoy the pleasure which are unaccompanied with pain, and therefore they commit crimes. The real cure is moral. Ab in CSAT paper, you have 2 minutes for a passage, and within 2 minutes you should get the answer. 2 minutes to, I can say, 2.5 minutes maximum. In this period of time, in the examination hall, you are supposed to read, evaluate, and choose the correct option. That's the reason you do not get the luxury of time and discussion and all that I'm doing here. So there, your approach should be based on some kind of formula, some shortcuts. The shortcut I have described, that author has given his recommendation, his RX is here. The real cure is moral. The moment you come to this line, an implied idea is ask, the main idea, and this must be part of the correct answer. So the option which contains this part will be the correct answer, as the option D says. Moral reform and training are the solution to preventing crimes from either want or desires. These two reasons are given there. So it will save your time, right? Rest of the options, no matter what they are saying, may be appealing to you. However, you need not to look at them, because the one or the other error is there. Like option A, the main motivation for crimes is want, which can be addressed by all means of conduct. which can be addressed by all means of conduct. Where does it come from? The author's RX is not given here. Out. Second option, equalization of property rights will stop everyone from committing crimes. How do we know it will stop? It has been suggested for the crimes that are there due to want, and it is suggested by one person. But there are crimes for due to desires also. So that is not covered here. So that's this option is also incorrect. Third option, crimes can gratify endless desires and passionate pleasures. But does it represent the author's main point? So main point cannot be some option which bypasses, which overlooks the recommendation of the author. So this solution oriented option should have been chosen. So to save time, your approach should be formula based. And what are those formula? What are those points that you need to keep on mind? I will first go for them, and more or less we have already discussed, you know, that when you have the question, this kind of frame of mind you already have. The conditioning, the moment you read the question, you know that orange and juice analogy type of thing. So any option you settle down with that should not be the will not be the wise choice. Rather, it should be based on your logical approach. So when the problem solution issue or recommendation type of passage is given, this recommendation or solution part should be there in the answer. If the author has projected some issue as a problem, it means he demands for the solution. So that solution oriented option should be there. I gave the example of. And second thing is that when you are doubtful between two close options, I have already mentioned here. And your ability to notice the traits of the wrong options. So in the traits of wrong options, you know that orange and juice analogy, I have already discussed two traits with you. Something that is not given in the passage directly or indirectly and written in the option will be wrong. Second thing is that case something which is an option which does not represent the main point. So those two points, those two traits are already there and discussed previously. I leave them. Third is that your ability to notice the keywords. It will save your time. The game है 2 मिनट का, 2 से 2.5 मिनट का, इससे ज़्यादा का टाइम आपके पास नहीं है. इसलिए you should always look at the keywords, and these keywords in the options become more important. Though I am not saying in the passage they are not important, but generally you have to eliminate the wrong options, and there you need to notice those keywords. The keywords are very visible. अब these keywords I have discussed already. However, you know the words which are giving a kind of extreme notions. एक तो ये ध्यान रखेंगे कि extreme notions. अब extreme notion words, extreme indicators are not always wrong, but most of the time they are wrong. Similarly, look at the quantifiers or any such words which tell you anything about frequency, about amount, about that is quantifier, or intensity of something. These words play a very important role. You look at this passage, PYQ, so that you can remember it. Yeah, this passage. Of the quantifier, author has said here the various underdeveloped countries. He has not said all the underdeveloped countries, and here the different underdeveloped countries was correct. But option D was wrong because it was not discussed about all countries have the same. So quantifiers, frequency, intensity, kind of words, and what you should do while reading, use a pen to underline. After the question, when you are reading the passage, the author's word, keywords, quantifiers, they must be underlined. Like he has said, most of the problems can be solved. So most of the problems, most is an important word there, underline it. If the author, while making his point, he says, however, uh, the most important or the best solution, so such points should be. And if he says the greater emphasis lies on, so the greater word is there, right? Or if he uses any kind of superlative degree, or he says the only solution, so these words must be noticed. So keywords, you got it. Everybody knows the language, so of course. And second, next point, I told you that if the author has given a kind of structure of the passage, and this structure is like author has described a problem, and then he has given some resolutions for that, some RX recommendation, then recommendation should be there in the passage. If author has described an issue and this issue's negative side is described as a problem, then again recommendation, even if recommendation is not given, but a recommendation or solution oriented option should be chosen. तो solution की तरफ ज़्यादा tilted होता है passage, ठीक है? If you, the author has written about, has written his idea, his thought, his opinion, and then he has written its elaboration form is written there, explanation is written, and if the author has written his examples, suppose the passage has these three dimensions there, these three subtopics there, that he writes his main point, what he thinks, he also explains the main point, and then he gives some examples to convey his main point, to simplify his main point. Then again in the options, you should not miss out the idea. It should be present in the correct option. So such options which only limit to confined to explanation and example should be dismissed. So ये tricks कुछ आप करेंगे. So there you can actually find your answers quickly, and these are the you can say in either way that these are the tricks or these are the ways to notice the wrong options. These are the traits that wrong options will have. So what they will have, they will, instead of the primary topic, they will mention the secondary one. So wrong option in idea, explanation and example format, in that structure, a wrong option will contain the explanation only, or maybe the example only, or maybe only explanation and example, and it will overlook the idea. It will only mention the problem. If the solution is given, it will be overlooked. So these are the traits, right? And the keywords. So for, and the in RC section, it is the practice which increases the speed, which increases your ability to notice the discrepancies, the differences, and some more questions. So after this, another non-CSAT question. This passage number 2 on your screen. The question is again implied idea. Yeah, 1 minute you have to read it. Alright, so you must have read the passage and evaluated the option. The first thing to be noticed is the question itself, implied idea, what author tends to convey. And certainly in this passage, the author has not said his point very clearly. A reason is that the passage has been taken from the middle of the argument, I suppose. It is not from the very beginning. So the context is not very clear till the time you read the last sentence, right? So here the reward political information is dangerous. Okay, this is the point. Is dangerous. Why it is dangerous? Should laws be changed at all? Changes in the arts is beneficial, but the case of laws is not quite analogous. Like analogy, I was using the word. It means comparable to that of the arts. Okay, so that cannot be. So the laws cannot be enacted. Changes cannot be done in the laws. To reward those who discover anything which is useful to the state is a proposal which has a spacious sound. Spacious is like misleading. Looks attractive, looks plausible, however misleading. So to reward those who discover anything which is useful to the state is a proposal which has a spacious sound, but cannot safely be enacted by law, for it may encourage informers and perhaps even lead to political commotions. Alright, so implied idea. So you have understood that the passage says that political information, why political information is dangerous? Because it may create political commotions, unrest, turmoil. And the reason is given. He has given an example with the art also. So option A says laws should be changed to reward individuals who provide useful political information to the state. But author is not saying that, because it is a negative effect is mentioned here. So the first option goes against what the author is saying. It is not his implied idea. Not the implied idea. Second one, changes in the arts have analogous implications to changes in law and both should be considered equally. But it goes against the second line, is not quite analogous, right? So equally makes it incorrect. Third is state-sponsored reward of political espionage has negative consequences and may lead to political unrest. Yes, it is correct. That's what it talks about, the informer, right? And third is the good option. So, though the passage was not very lucid, very simple, however, if you stick to the option evaluation, you may notice the discrepancies. So, the passage may not be 100% clear to you, still there are chances to find the correct answer. In this particular passage I am talking about, I am not saying that always it happens. So, guys, if provided you stick to the author's notion, to the direction that he is going to, even if you do not know the specific point that he is making, because you may come across such kind of passages in CSAT paper where your comprehension is not up to the mark, because the passage is a little you know maybe it talks about something which is naughty, knotty, and not very simple to unravel, and so that's the reason you should still stick to the differences that are created there. So through that you can find the answer. This is a different question, so I'll take you to this passage number 4, the central message of the author. Comparatively easy passage, and your correct option should be the last option, D. The word indulges in hero worship of individuals pretending to be great leaders serving humanity. Because the author has made his point very explicitly. Central message is very clear. So, author gives the theory of Carlyle, who defended the worship of great men, warned his readers how. But he warned his readers how multitudes of men have figured in history as great men who were false and selfish. Right? He called them later on quacks. He regretted deeply that the world's wages, yani of homage, are pocketed by those so-called great men. The world's work is not done. Heroes have gone out, quacks have come in. So the point is explicit. The message is easier to notice. First option, great men must be worshipped irrespective of their effectiveness. This is going against the theory given by the person, so it has no chance. Heroes or leaders shall be prevalent in history in each age because of the charisma and contribution, but this overlooks the given point. So again, it's incorrect. The passage is not talking about the heroes, it is rather talking about those who are actually not heroes, but they have posed one. Like one. So C, the worship of great men ensures the completion of world's works. No, it again overlooks the main point. So D is the right option. So in the question of message, just restrict to the author's point. Now, a very interesting passage. Here, again, the message is asked. After this passage, I will take you to another type of question. Yesterday I discussed them, but I could not give you some examples. So solve this passage, 2 minutes time you have. Question number 5. Question of message. And as I said, that message is a type of question where the examiner gets the leverage to, in fact, distort the point, the author's point. So here, the correct answer should be passage number 1, option number 1, A option. And why is this correct? So he says with the constant pressure, very interesting topic it is. With the constant pressure from peers, family and relatives, either directly or indirectly by valuing high-paying jobs and appreciating others' achievements in that regard, a humanities student is left to deal with the meaninglessness of his or her pursuit. Humanities student is left with that. The reason is given there. The lack of dialogue between the students of humanities and others leave the entire education system lopsided by creating an unwarranted divide of the disciplines as worthwhile or worthless. So this happens, the resultant effect. The consequences of endorsing such a blunt dichotomy can be disastrous for understanding the underlying nuances that preserve societal harmony and social order. So humanities cannot be understood, or its underlying nuances cannot be preserved, cannot be understood, though it has these characteristics, societal harmony and social order. For that, it is important for the perseverance, for the in order to preserve them. So humanities, what kind of problem it is facing, and this dichotomy, which means is splitting something into two, the difference, highlighting the difference, the opposing ideas. So the way it is being treated, author has openly criticized that. अब look at weak options. The last option should catch your attention, very visible, talks about something else. Pursuing high paying jobs is more important and compensates for lack of understanding of society. This is not the author's point, this is what the others are saying. And society in general might consider this, that important job is, paying jobs is important, and that's why there is a peer pressure, there is a pressure on humanities student. But we are asked to find out the message of the author, message of the passage. So D is out. Then again, second option says the entire education system is unbalanced due to unequal valuation of different disciplines. Please understand, author has discussed here the humanities, the way this particular stream is treated. Author is not talking about the different, disciplines, different subjects or different areas. Only this one he has focused on. So it is incorrect. Option C, humanities students face constant pressure, that's correct, from peers and relatives, adding to meaninglessness of their education. Look, this adds to the meaninglessness of their education. They actually get the pressure about that their chosen stream is meaningless, right? And when you look at option A, yes, this is the correct representation of the author's message. So C loses out because it is not as appropriate as the first one is. Though in parts option C is making sense, and first one, dichotomy of disciplines is futile and studying humanities is beneficial as it teaches how to preserve social order and harmony. So it is being mentioned by the author here. This preserves this particular stream, societal harmony and social order. So this is the crucial message. Now folks, so these were the main idea based questions I started with, and the main idea based questions UPSC last time asked in the year 2023 some 15 to 16 questions from out of 27 from this of this type. So it's very important that you practice for them along with the logical questions, assumption and inferences, and corollary we discussed yesterday. So, but some PYQs on corollary I'm going to show you. So, what corollary is, for the students who have joined a little late, they must remember that corollary means that you identify what the author's point is, what the author's theory is. Author's main point that he wants to establish, or his theory, right? Based on that, you need to make an inference, you need to make a logical deduction. So that's called a corollary. Author's main point need not to be missed out. And though we have solved the questions of main idea where the author's main point as it is was supposed to be chosen. Now here, based on that main point, something else, some logical deductions or consequences that we can choose. So we have some, I'll show you some questions on corollary. This is a PYQ, passage number 19. Very simple question to start with. The author talks about flamingos in large flocks in the wild are social and extremely loyal. And then it is being, explanation is given. How loyal and social they are. They perform group mating dances. Parents are very fond of their chicks, right? And gathering them into creches for protection while both males and females fly off to search for food. Logical corollary based on the passage. The moment you solve a logical question, you notice the wrong words. Mass nesting in all species of birds. Only flamingos is given in the passage, so obviously you cannot make a point about all species of birds. Data inadequate. Out. B. Only birds have the capacity to develop social behavior. Again, we do not know कि only birds have or other species have it or not, because only flamingos is given there, no other species. See, social behavior in some species of birds increases the odds of survival in an unsafe world. Some species of birds, I told you yesterday that even if one case is given, one piece of evidence is there, like flamingos is given here, some is acceptable. So this is the correct option. Option D, all species of birds set up creches. We don't know about all species on the basis of one. So very simple that you look at the keywords and then evaluate the given data. This passage was asked in the year 2021, passage number 20. Logical corollary. Take a minute to get the answer. So students, there should not be any error in terms of noticing the author's main point theory. अगर वो आपने सही किया तो corollary का सही होने के chances होते हैं. So I would, in terms of strategy, I would advise that if corollary question is asked in paper 24, first of all, identify what the author is trying to establish or prove. What is his main idea? If it is not very clear to you, don't go to the options. First be clear about it and then only you can identify the correct option. So based on this main idea or theory, the correct option will, the correct logical deduction should be chosen. So in this case, the answer should be option A, and it is based on the author's theory. Theory is India, the objective of macroeconomic policies to enhance the economic welfare of the people. This is the objective. And in this regard, in this context, the author gives his theory from here. And any one wing of such macro policy, monetary or fiscal, cannot independently work without active support of another. So both monetary and fiscal should work together. They should work together. This is the author's point. Corollary, option A. The central bank cannot work independently of the government. So monetary is related to your central bank and fiscal for the government. They should work together. You look at the other options. First of all, look at the very positive option which has been written in such a way that it catches your attention. Financial sector reforms. The passage is not talking about the financial sectors. The author is not talking about that, because if you connect that for policy and macro policy, it talks about objective of macro policy. So where there he says monetary and fiscal cannot independently work, and both should work together. But this passage is a very general one. Financial sector reforms are required for enhancing the economic welfare of the people. Okay, fine. But where is the point based on that monetary and fiscal should work together, should work in tandem? So D is not cannot be the corollary. C, market economy is not compatible with the socialist policies not given, so we cannot choose this one. B, government should regulate financial markets and institutions closely. Why the government should? That is not based on theory. So option A is the correct answer. One last passage based on corollary is again a PYQ on your screen. Many pathogens that cause food-borne illness. So you see, students, here the whole passage seems to suggest that due to this variety of food and the food travel, and due to the excess globalization of food production, it has increased the vulnerability. Any food contamination, the chances of food contamination goes up. This is the theory. On the basis of this, corollary is option A. With more options for food come more risk. This is the next logical step, logical consequence you arrive at on the basis of the point that author tries to establish. So this is the nature of corollary. Let's evaluate the wrong options. This is given in option C. We should depend on locally produced food only. Locally produced food only. So does the locally produced food pose no challenge? Answer is no, because second line author says food contamination can occur at any stage from farm to plate. So even locally, what globalization has done, it has increases the problem, but it is not the only reason for this particular problem. So that's why C loses out. Not correct. So I'm explaining this with this point of mind. Even if you do not remember the nature of the answer, the nature of the question, still you can notice the discrepancies there. B says food processing is the source of all food-borne illness. Again, you don't have any idea about this, any data for this, that food processing is the reason. So B is out. And the last option, globalization production should be, globalization of food production should be curtailed, should be cut down. Making sense, but this is not the corollary of the passage, because the corollary is the point is that due to the variety of foods and due to the travel, this thing is happening. So D option, globalization of food production should be cut down, does not serve the purpose, because globalization has increased the problem. It is not the only genesis of the problem. So D is out, is the correct answer. So if the question of corollary is asked, you need to look at the passage main point, the author's theory that he wants to establish, and based on that, what logical deductions can be made. In my previous class, I gave examples of corollary, and I told you that it's a type of inference only. So the way you solve the inference, you have to do the same thing here. Need to find out the data, need to establish the logical, viability, logical validity of the point, and then choose the answer. So one more type of question I discussed with you, and this is the third question of the day. This is implication question. Implication question is again like your main idea based questions, and there in the main idea based questions, why then am I discussing it separately? Because here the approach could be different. So sometimes UPSC examiner gives you this passage and asks the question of implication, and he writes multiple statements. So multiple statements for implications, sometimes even 5 statements are written. They are time taking. So there you need to go for at a breakneck speed, and in order to gain that speed, I mean how quickly you can choose your answer, the short trick or shortcut I'm sharing with you. So always these statements should be chosen if the statement is a solution. Number one, if it is the solution to the given problem. Author will discuss some issue here in the passage, some problem or some issue, some kind of challenge, right, that he has described, and if the given statement is a solution, you can choose that as correct one. Second, if the given solution statement is the impact, it talks about the impact or the effect of that issue, of that problem, again it will be correct. So this way you can identify the instinct of these statements and can choose your answer quickly, right? क्योंकि आपके पास तो 2 ही मिनट का समय होता है, इसलिए थोड़ा ये ट्रिक अप्लाई करेंगे. So let's solve a couple of questions. अब देखिए, let's go for this question. It was asked in the year 2021, and it asks about the best rational, plausible and practical implication. तो देखिए यहाँ the passage says that in the immediate future we will see the increasing commodification of technologies, and to save your time I recommend you not to read the explanation part and example part with the same fervor. You should read them, like a, you should just glance through them, just a customary glance. So after this, the hyphen is there. increasing commodification of technology in future we will see, and he starts giving the examples. So artificial intelligence and robotics, even if you do not read this line, does not matter much. So, but you must read it quickly. You should not read it word to word. Right? So these two lines will save your time. After that, he says this will pose conundrums. And this commodification of technology will create problem. Conundrums means problems, questions, perplexed situations. This is a very important point because this gives you the clue of the author's thinking, author's attitude. Then he explains the moral question of how driverless car will decide between hitting a jaywalker. Yani he is going to tell how the conundrum, what kind of conundrums it will create. And you can see lots of question marks here. So guys, this whole part in fact is the explanation of the conundrums, the nature of the conundrums. So I read it quickly in a sweeping manner. So the moral question of how driverless car will decide between hitting a jaywalker and swerving means deviate, and damaging the car has often been debated. The answer is both simple, save the human life, and complex also. What is the complexity? At which angle should the cars swerve? Just enough to save the jaywalker or more than enough? If the driverless car is in Dublin, who would take the decision? Because the driverless car means that everything will have to be put in the software. So who will take the decision? If the car is in Dublin, Ireland, the Irish government, or car's original code writer in California in the USA, or a software programmer in Hyderabad in India, to whom maintenance is outsourced? If different national jurisdictions have different fine print on prioritizing a human life, how will it affect insurance and investment decisions, including transnational ones? So the conundrums is clear. The author wants to convey that these challenges associated with the increasing commodification of technology needs to be evaluated and analyzed, so that otherwise they will create the problems, the situations, conundrums. So with the driverless car, he has explained it. So आप देखते हो इस passage में the explanation part is spread, and just this will pose conundrum should not be missed out. It gives you the idea. Now the issue or the problem of the passage is clear to everyone. Issue or the problem, issue or the challenge. The challenge here is that conundrums. Increasing commodification of technology will pose challenge in future. We are supposed to find out the statements, if they are the solution or if they are the effect. इस तरह से आप जल्दी कर लोगे अपना आंसर. अब जल्दी से देखिए आप second, fifth point. Geopolitics will have to reconcile to many ambiguities and uncertainties. Yes, because multi-transnational things are there. So geopolitics will have to reconcile, will have to adjust. So fifth is absolutely correct. I have started from the last one because it is written in 3 options. So fifth is fifth is making sense, and fifth one is like a solution. First one, you see, too much globalization is not in the best interest of any country. Too much globalization. Author has not said that. He said this will pose conundrums, and but he has not said it should be. It's not in the interest of any country. It's very judgmental, going beyond. It's neither the solution to the given problem nor the impact. So this is the incorrect option. And one is given at 3 places. Your answer is there. C is the answer. But for the sake of discussion, second is modern technologies are increasingly blurring the economic borders. Yes, we have seen they are increasing blurring. In future, it will happen. 3 countries have been mentioned there, and on whose jurisdiction will be used. Will be the key. Third is innovation and capital have impinged on the domain of the state. Yes, they have affected the domain of the state. We have seen that. So 2, 3 and 5. Because of the solution and impact, you can get your answers of implication quickly. So implication means meaning, implication means conclusion, implication means that the impact or the effect part. It's a far-reaching word. So implication questions like a main idea based questions. Your approach should be just based on the point, solution or effect, and this way you can save your time. So I'll take you to one more question. This implication question you can try. Take 2 minutes. right? And then on the same line, solution or impact, and then you dismiss the options. 2 minutes you have. All right, so the issue mentioned in the passage is clear. It talks about the water availability and in short period of time, the rainfall and the water scarcity, uneven availability of water, you can say. So there are some excesses, or there's completely some areas are there which are devoid of water. So effect and solution. So obviously, first statement is a solution. Interlinking of rivers should be undertaken, because the last line says, while millions suffer from droughts and floods, waters in the country's many rivers flow unutilized and are discharged into the sea every year. So this will may ensure the water availability to more people. So first is making sense as a solution. Second is a network of dams and canals should be built across the country for proper distribution of water. Again, making sense as a solution, more or less like first point. And at the same time, you should look at the option combination. So you see both 1 and 2 are correct, but 1 and 2 together is not given anywhere except in option A. So option A is your answer. Don't go beyond, because 1 and 2 you are 100% sure that both are the valid solutions and addressing the problem, but none of the options contain that. So in multi statements, always look at the option combination to save your time. For the sake of discussion, third one is talking about the groundwater, hence does not make sense. Fourth is usage of water for agriculture should be regulated by law. It is only talking about agriculture, number one, and regulated by law. We do not know whether it's already regulated by law or not. So fifth is distribution of river water among regions should be regulated by the union government. But why should it be governed by the union government, or the union government is not governing it? So it is again not making sense. So folks, now we come to the implications. So implication, corollary and main idea questions we discussed today. And yesterday I told you that there are two types of doubts the students have at this particular point. From since from 16 June is the date, and you do not have much time. So what should you do? That PYQs should be your priority, and in the PYQs always look for, just follow the pattern of the questions, pattern of your wrong answers, and back to back question when you solve. one type of question, suppose you have taken and you started solving the same question, and you notice the pattern of errors, and the answers will give you the clue. The answers will give you the idea that what should be the nature of the correct answer. So it is very important that all students solve the PYQs. Multiple questions are there, starting from 2011 to 2024. First priority should be given, however, to 2015 to 2023, this 9 years period, and after that you can go for 2011 to 2014 if there is a need. But 15 to 2023 must be solved. The answers are already there. So these questions and their correct answer will start making sense, and the things will start falling in place. Okay. Now I want to discuss that uh, in terms of the approach to your CSAT part, to your RC part in particular, what kind of confusions, what kind of doubts are there? The approach based doubts. Before this approach based doubts, I have already discussed with you concept based doubts related to the questions and options, the information the question requires. So approach based doubts means the approach in terms of time, in terms of your speed, in terms of which section should be taken first. So different students have different type of issues here to be done first. All your strategy related issues. So number one, you should know that there are certain do's and don'ts. So in terms of the time, I will tell you that in RC section, for each question you should not give yourself more than 2 to 2.5 minutes. And when you are practicing, you just keep in mind that 2 to 2.5 minutes you get per question. Passage reading, understanding of the question, evaluation of the option. Everything should be done between this, within this period of time. So that is clear. Generally, UPSC gives a number of questions given. On an average, I can say for the last 3 years they have given 27 questions. So let's say 27 questions are asked again in 2024. A question here or there does not matter, but this figure is on an average there. So in the 27 questions, should you try all the questions or should you skip some questions? This is another issue that students face and keep asking. 27 questions may, I would say that, you should have this idea that 80% of the questions should be, or rather must be, solved. Because RC section, as I said yesterday, that RC section is not very difficult section, and it is within your reach as well, provided you go for some practice and you follow the basics. So 80% of the questions must be solved, or in other words, I can say you must attempt at least 20 to 22 questions. Even an average student who does not have RC as his forte, as his strong point, still he can do fairly good in this section, right? So 20 to 22 questions you must try. Of these 20 to 22 questions means that you have the window to skip 5 to 7 questions. So these 5 to 7 questions do not matter, because unnecessarily why to invite the negative marking. So these questions you should be to be skipped. I'm making my points in a general way. I'm not saying each student must follow the same thing, but on an average, for the students who are doing fairly good in this particular section, so 5 to 7 questions should be skipped, because if you are going after each question of RC and unnecessarily you invite negative marking, because 0.83 will be deducted for each wrong answer. So if you have committed 7 wrong answers, it means you are going to lose somewhere 6 marks, which matters. Yeah? It's close to 6 marks. So unnecessarily, why to invite negative marking? Rather, you should skip them if you're doing fairly good. So 20 to 22 means that somewhere around 45 to 50 marks you can score from this section. So the number of questions to be attempted, time per question, these 2 points are clear to you. Now the third commonly asked question is sir, should I attempt the RC section, the whole RC section at one go, or should I go for other subjects in between? Right? This is again a common question. So the whole section, the whole RC part at a go or not? Again, a very subjective thing. I have come across some students who have habituated themselves. They have fixed time, 35 to 40 or maybe 40 to 45 minutes or maybe more than that, 50 minutes they are going to give to RC, and the entire RC section they will attempt. I mean 2022 to 25 has many questions where they are confident about. So at a go, the one chunk of time they have given to the whole RC. Then they go for maths, then they go for reasoning. So there are some students for whom this works. They have attempted, they have tried it. So tried and tested है तब तो ठीक है. आपके केस में, in case your case, if it is working, does not pose challenge, no issues. I won't actually impose myself. However, in case you have not attempted it, or you have not tried it, or you have tried but you have faced that this way you are facing problem. The problem is generally that when you go for the whole RC section at one go, अब the RC part कितने passage होते हैं on an average? You see 25 passages. There is no fixed number again here, just like number of questions. But if you take paper 2021, paper 2023, 2020, so 20 to 27 passages, 26 passages are there. So in case 25 passages or 24 passages are there, reading back-to-back passages at one go is challenging. And after 7, 8, 10 passages, a student start facing the issues. The issues are that he feels that he's not fresh, and somewhere his attention or his concentration is diluted, deviated. So instead of going into this kind of approach, I would rather recommend that once you have done 6, 7, 8 passages, as many as you are comfortable with, you should switch over and go to some maths questions or some reasoning questions. This may keep you fresh, and again when you come across the next section, when you come across the next page, when you come across the next new chunk of RC, you can start solving that. So I would rather recommend you to go page wise, the way the questions are given. Instead of solving the whole RC part at a go, my recommendation is that don't try all the passages at a go, rather go for different topics in between. Some passages, then some maths questions, some reasoning question. This will keep you fresh. This will not dilute your attention, hopefully. However, if you have tried and tested the other way at a go, I have no problem with that, because it is your strategy. What works in your case, you know better. So this is the third commonly asked doubt. Time, how much time should be given, number of how many questions should be attempted, and should the RC section be attempted at one go or in parts? That I have answered, that in parts is a better approach or more effective approach. Then, so this was about the RC. In case a student who is going for RC at a go, let's say talk about that group. who have tried and tested and it is working in their case. So how much time should they give to the whole section? It depends on you. How are you placed in the sense that is RC your strong area, is maths your strong area, or reasoning is your strong area? So as per that you should go for the time allocation. Suppose a student, an aspirant is there who's RC, who is very good in at RC, so he should allocate more time to RC section because it is his strong area, right? So he can go for how much time he can give? I would say that he should give 40 to 45 minutes ideally to the whole RC section. I'm talking about that student who is going to attempt all the RC questions at a go. Of course, the one who is going page wise as per the order of the given questions, he cannot count the time this way, or he cannot make a strategy around the time. He can only stick to per question or per passage how much time, the 2 to 2.5 minutes that he has. But 40 to 45 minutes is the ideal time for RC section for those students who dependent on this, right? A couple of minutes here or there does not matter. In case a student's RC section is weak, he is apprehensive, I think he should cut down this time and he should give more time to the section where he is good at. So maybe 30 minutes, maybe 25 minutes, as per your level, you can decide, right? So that is one thing about the time given to RC section in case you are going to solve it at one go. Now, how much in terms of the time and in terms of the number of questions, total number of questions. I'm not talking about the RC alone, but the entire CSAT paper. The total number of questions that you must attempt. 80 questions are given there. Since the exam is qualifying, so you need to have a score 66.5 marks. It means you need not to solve all the 80 questions, but your job is to find out those questions which are within your reach. So in that whole list of 80 questions, you should not miss out those questions that you can solve and score. So that you fairly clear this paper. Now for this, how many questions you must attempt? So I would say number of questions should be attempted is 40 to 50. This is the range. Minimum 40 questions, maximum 50 questions. Out of 80, those questions that are within your reach. That's the reason there is no point in entangling with such questions that are going to make your journey difficult, your life difficult in terms of time consuming, in terms of level of difficulty, in terms of your, you're not familiar with the topic, with the context. In terms of passages I'm talking about. So there you need to be clear. 40 to 50 questions you must attempt, and fairly enough, I think, and 80 out of 80 questions. Quick decision should be made when you come across a difficult question. A minute or two you can invest to explore it. The moment you realize that the question is beyond your reach, and this process should be very fast. Your decision making should be very fast here, right? Because if you 3-4 minutes you spend, you are going to, it is going to cost you heavily. And no better example than the paper of 2023. CSAT 2023 actually spoiled the journey of many aspirants, dreams of many aspirants, just because when they got maths, and suppose they had maths background, BTech, BSc, or so they thought that they should solve this paper, the questions, and I came across some students who invested so much time in maths section, and it did not serve any purpose. Rather, it spoiled their performance in the exam. It upset their mood. So guys, it is very important that you should take the decision very quickly. In case you are going to solve a question by spending 7 to 8 minutes to it, What is the point? At the end, you are only going to get 2.5 marks. So why not better go, why not go to that question, which can be solved in 2 minutes, in within 2 minutes, and same marks you will get for that. So when the marking is same, don't entangle in the difficult questions. And the decision making, DM I write here, decision making that this question is going to be skipped should be fast. You should not just linger on there, right? Any subject. Even if it is in RC, then you should decide it very quickly. And I think it is easier because the moment you start reading the passage, if you do not understand the language, the context, the subject topic properly, of course the question and options will be difficult. Or in other words, I mean, like, another case is maybe the passage is understandable, comprehensible. However, when you went to the options were not making much sense to you. You were not really very clear. Three options were confusing. So again, just reading and re-evaluating again and again the options will not serve the purpose. Better you skip that. I've already told you 5-7 questions you can skip. So the CSAT in the present format requires that you should be very clear about your strategy. Things should be on your fingertips. You should be ready for the worst. You know, as they say that hope for the best and prepare for the worst. So always prepare for the worst. That the area, the subject that is your bastion, your strong area, if it becomes very difficult, what will you do? When you step into the examination hall, much before that, you must have found the strategy to deal with this particular situation. So at the end, I would say that, RC section in general is not very difficult. You can always score 35, 40 marks easily from this section, which is half of the marks that you need for this exam. And for this purpose, you need to be careful, be aware of the basics, especially the information of the question demands, and then evaluation of the options. Your approach to the options is very important there. And folks, you must attempt the PYQs, right? And mock tests are very important. When you are writing the mock test, write it with utmost sincerity. Take care of time. Take care of your approach. Be very honest there. Even if invigilator is lax, lenient, yet you should take it as if it's your actual CSAT paper. Apply your strategies there and see the result, so that before the examination hall, your master strategy should be in your hand. So at that note, I end this session, and I wish you all, luck, and I hope you will clear this exam. Thank you for watching this video.